Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, don't mind me. I have a big cold, and I mean big cold, a pretty bad cold. For those of you who are around last year in the springtime, oh yeah, that was probably the worst cold I had. I lost my voice and everything. It was just my vocal cords were filled with just all this crud, and because of that, um, yeah, you need to go all the way back to last year in the beginning of spring. Despite that, though, I continued to persevere. Thankfully, it's not as bad as last year. Nowhere near as bad as last year. I'm praying that it does not become that. But I have a hold. Um, I'm a little bit feverish, but I'm getting over it. But the good news is I feel well enough. I'm well caffeinated with a lot of caffeinated beverages. I'm having enough energy, thankfully, to hold the said video for today. And it's a pretty big one. And we got to talk about Jimmy Kimmel, who obviously lost his job because, honestly, Jimmy Kimmel is a beta male. He is a low testosterone male who is a little child. And he just can't get himself together. And because he can't get himself together, he says stupid stuff that will offend a lot of people, and he has offended the whole country. And because he offended the whole country, he lost his job. Oh, boo-hoo. Folks, the left is crying cancel culture. They're accusing the right of cancel culture. And I kind of played into it also. I'm like, are we being a cancel? Are we participating in cancel culture now? And I'm actually like, no, we're not. Because accountability culture is different than cancel culture. Folks, we've seen accountability has been out of the window for so long, for like 8 years. Woke America has seen no accountability. When accountability is being forced, they call it cancel culture. It's not. It's called accountability because ultimately, yes, you have the freedom to say whatever you want, but what you say and what you do has consequences. You can go on Facebook and ramble about Charlie Kirk, why you're happy he's dead, but obviously that has consequences because ultimately that displays how much of a bad employee and a bad human being you are, and people will catch into that. And not only that, but your manager, your employer will catch into that. They're saying, oh wait, hang on, there's so-and-so's post by employees cheering on the death of Charlie Kirk. He has to go. That is an excuse. That's excusable. And plus, it's after all, it's the we can't go up to the corporation and say, hey, look, you're canceling this person. Cancel culture doesn't work with corporate America. I don't understand why this doesn't work. Cancel culture doesn't work with corporate America. It's up to the employer. If the employer said, hey, look, if they want to follow through with this, they don't have to. Because the left acts like that we're taking a knife and we're saying, you fire so-and-so little Mr. Smith because Mr. Smith says this about Charlie Kirk. You fire him now or we're going to boycott you. We're not doing that. We're not doing boycotts. We're just sharing our concerns. And because the culture war has shifted the other direction to the right now, corporate America has responded and recognized that, hey, look, the left is not winning. The left is not winning this. And because the left is not winning this, the culture war is being overwhelmingly won by the right. And even if like you have vile, callous comments and they're saying, hey, look, this comment disturbed me, and especially when it comes to teachers, doctors, a lot of people are like, oh, you're firing doctors. Yeah, because let's be honest, you're a doctor and a nurse cheering on the death of someone you don't like. You're a doctor. You're supposed to prevent death. And when you go and support death towards someone you don't like because you have a disagreement towards that person, that makes you uncredible. That makes you untrustworthy as a doctor. Should I let my kid be your doctor? I mean, should I let my kid be your patient? Should I release the medical information of my child to you? Should should you check out my kid's body? And while you actively cheered off on the death of a human being, that makes you untrustworthy. Your credibility tanks after that. Not only that, but teachers. Because, folks, we send teachers to school. We send kids to school. And because we send kids to school, and you have a teacher celebrating someone's death, and now I think the country of the United States has not recognized this. They've taken this out of context, taken this for granted, the word minor for granted. The word minor, what does a minor mean? A minor is anyone that's below the age of 18. And it seems as if the United States will only care about minorities, being black and brown people, but not actual minorities, being kids. Because we're so concerned that we're taking away books that have pornography in public schools. We throw a huge fit. They don't actually understand that, it really doesn't matter if there's a porn novel in a public library, but the porn novel needs to be in the adult section. There's no adult section in a public school because the public school library is meant for kids. So there's no adult stuff there. So it's no surprising that teachers are boohoo whining and crying that they're getting fired for Charlie Kirk comments, because we should not allow kids to be near someone that wants people dead because you have the wrong belief than that teacher. So my response to the left when they're crying, like they're saying cancel culture. Hey, look, guys, you can't cry cancel culture when you killed Charlie Kirk with cancel culture. You killed him. You silenced him. And now you are making yourselves to look like the victim that you're being silenced. How does that even work? And people catch on. I'm not the type of person that sees a post and wants to waste my time to call the employer. It's not my business, but I do wish, that something accountable will happen. But ultimately, I won't feel bad if that person gets fired. You decided to release the post. Folks, I learned this in high school. In my advisory class, we talk about internet safety. We talk about employment. When you're hired, it's a certain job in a certain place. You never talk bad about your place of employment on social media. Everyone knows what will happen. You'll get fired, right? If you trash and negatively affect your place of employment on social media, expect to get fired because you're defaming the business. You basically chose the opposition. Don't expect to still remain employed there. So the same remains in other circumstances. If you make vile comments that ultimately impact the reputation of the business and the company, expect to be fired, especially if it affects other people. Now, sure, the other people may be biased Trump supporters that just do not like your comments, but their opinions matter. And the company has every right to make that decision. So there's a difference between cancel culture and accountability culture. Cancel culture is when you're so butthurt. Cancel culture is when you see someone, a Trump supporter, or maybe a liberal in this case, someone who doesn't like Charlie Kirk and has opinions of Charlie Kirk, maybe said them behind closed doors or something, but hasn't done anything wrong in regards to posting, hasn't really upset. Like, for instance, the Phillies Karen. This is an example of cancel culture that happened recently. She stole a ball from a kid. Phillies Karen, right? She stole a ball from the kid, and the right and the left, both the right and the left, canceled her. She got fired from her job. She's now suing because she can't get a job anymore because she's become an internet meme. And she's become a pretty antagonized one, as you can clearly see. But that is cancel culture. All for what? Something petty like stealing a ball. I mean, really, was it worth it, Karen? Was it worth it? Was the ball that worth it? Well, that is an example of cancel culture. And that cancel culture was led by both the right and the left. Cancel culture is always kind of done by the majority. And just because the right is the majority in this scenario doesn't mean they're committed to cancel culture. For instance, cancel culture is constantly pursued. Notice that this woman, it can't get a job anymore. Hence the word canceled. She's canceled. Her career is done. She can't get a job anymore. She's apologized. Nope, no more chances. Because she's become an antagonized figure. These people, Jimmy Kimmel, he can still do his own independent show. And I'm guessing with the outrage that is happening in regards to this news, he will garnish a good audience. Or will he? He has horrible ratings, by the way. But also, you also have stuff like these people that have been fired, these young adolescents, these young scholars that got fired for their stupid comments. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't go viral, otherwise it can. People will catch on to that, but the right's not going over here and punishing corporations for hiring these people. There's just too many. You got over 1,200 people being fired. But in this circumstance of Jimmy Kimmel, I think this really didn't have to do much about the Charlie Kirk comments. I think the Charlie Kirk comments were the last straw for Jimmy Kimmel. His ratings are very bad. We had Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert didn't necessarily do anything wrong to get fired. He just had bad ratings. And of course, you have the boomer left. The boomer left, they assume that Stephen Colbert, he is, of course, been canceled because of his views. No, I mean, if he was canceled by his views, then why didn't Trump cancel him in this first term? And why did it take all this time, like 5 months into the presidency of Donald Trump, in order to cancel Stephen Colbert? Let's be honest, he had bad ratings, he says stupid stuff, and he is a boomer. Like, if you're a boomer, I'm not saying that you're not funny, but this guy has been irrelevant for far too long. He's been irrelevant for 8 years. Now he's hit rock bottom, and he appears to the boomer, liberal boomer population of Vermont. That's not necessarily where your comedy's at. Your Comedy Central is pretty much on social media. It's mainly on TikTok. You know, a lot of comedy is now being created by AI and artificial intelligence. You also have TikToks. You know, yeah, other than this guy who tells the same jokes, and now he's just telling the jokes out of hate and vitriol over a president that he doesn't like. Honestly, this isn't even a joke anymore. This is pure seriousness, because jokes, you don't really mean it. You can tell the difference between a joke and actual hateful comments. Okay, people are not dumb. But in the case of Jimmy Kimmel, I can understand why people are saying, oh, Jimmy Kimmel got canceled, because it just happened to be he happened to be the biggest list over the Charlie Kirk firings. But let's just say, Jimmy Kimmel, let's be honest, ABC. It's not like Trump called ABC and said, fire this guy. No. Apparently, ABC agrees that Jimmy Kimmel is also inappropriate. Let's see, what did Jimmy Kimmel exactly say? Well, let's just tell you, Jimmy Kimmel's comments were very calloused and very inappropriate. He mocked the grieving supporters of Charlie Kirk. Now, I'll give you this one. Jimmy Kimmel didn't make fun of Kirk's assassination, but he was still very calloused in ways that if you are a smart human being, you knew he was making fun of him behind closed doors. He proved to be careless and calloused with his comments. He stated that, President Trump has been a longtime friend of Charlie Kirk. He made fun of Donald Trump in a time where maybe I should let Donald Trump Go. Maybe we should let Donald Trump grieve. Maybe we should let his supporters grieve. But no. Jimmy Kimmel went after the supporters of Charlie Kirk, blaming Trump and his own supporters for Kirk's own death. He claims that, like every left-winger, that the shooter is a right-winger for some stupid reason. The Bella Ciao the Bella Ciao, hey fascist catch, the notices bulge, and all these left-wing slangs don't matter. He's a right-winger because he has a gun, and his family are Trump supporters. I've mentioned in I would believe the last video, not the last video, but 90% of people in Antifa, they were formerly Republicans. How did they get the way they are? Because they do it over guilt. They learn, they go to college, they get indoctrinated, they beat themselves up for being Republicans and tolerating their family. And in order to make up for that, they go super far to the left, where they become communists. This is how their psychology works. So, yeah, obviously, Jimmy Kimmel is wrong when it comes to that. And when pressed to apologize, and I mean, Jimmy Kimmel wasn't fired on the spot. He was given a lot of chances. I mean, you had the network saying that, Jimmy Kimmel, you need to apologize for this. He said, no. You know, one thing that a comedian has to do is apologize. You gotta be, in order to be a comedian, you gotta apologize a lot, because sometimes you offend people. And now I know that that's petty and all that stuff. Why do you need to offend? It's a joke, blah, 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 blah. Get over it. But then again, we live in a crazy world with cancel culture. And in order to keep your reputation, sometimes you may have to bend the knee, and depending on how bad the backlash is. And in this case scenario, Jimmy Kimmel's backlash was so huge that even the network was calling him out. And Jimmy Kimmel, being so delusional, says, no, which tells us that this isn't a joke. This isn't a joke. This is serious. Jimmy Kimmel meant what he meant when he said those comments and those remarks. Basically throwing mud in the grieving tears of Erica Kirk, which Erica Kirk is allegedly threatening to sue Jimmy Kimmel. Well, actually, no. Pardon me. That was not Stephen Colbert, but Stephen King. Stephen King is also an animal, an idiot. But we're gonna leave him out. Maybe we'll talk about him in a future episode. But yeah, but Jimmy Kimmel, not as bad as Stephen King is what he said, but Jimmy Kimmel, obviously got called out by the network. He said, no, okay, consequence, you get fired. And then we do a surprise Pikachu face, and obviously we know what Jimmy Kimmel is doing right now. He's trying to make himself out to be the victim, saying that, I've been canceled by Trump, blah, 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 blah. This is in order to help get his audience aroused and boost his numbers and support, so he can go and start his other show or a podcast or something like that. Don't expect him to do comedy. He's now an activist, basically. But yes, obviously, he was never a comedian. He's a Democratic Party propagandist, an activist who turns comedy into propaganda against Republicans and, of course, Trump. Not to mention, it's not like Jimmy Kimmel isn't a vile human being. I mean, let's be honest. This clown makes fun of people's penis sizes. I mean, let's be honest. This guy is an absolute child. Folks, talking about people's genitalia, making fun of people's genitalia is something that a 5-year-old does in first grade. This is a grown man, a 57-year-old man, making fun of body parts and genitalia. I am tired of hearing this guy, with his foul mouth, go around and spread his pornographic language. So I'm like, hey, look, I mean, better late than never. I mean, this guy should have been canceled the minute he made fun of Robert Downey Jr.'s genitalia during the Oscars. That is uncalled for. And I mean, hey, look, free speech, blah, 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 blah. But let's be honest. Hang on. Jimmy Kimmel's a person that believes that, oh, we can make fun of male genitalia, but we can't make fun of female genitalia. So it's one-sided here. So it's interesting how hypocritical. Like, he can make fun of all the male's genitalia, but because it's sexist to make fun of female genitalia, and I don't support that in any way. So this guy obviously thinks it's offensive to do it with one gender. I think it's offensive to do it with anyone. But it shows to you that Jimmy Kimmel is bought and sold by wokeness. It shows to you that Jimmy Kimmel is, once again, not a real comedian, because a comedian is not afraid to tell a joke, okay, and get backlash. Because the backlash is a part of the joke. Jimmy Kimmel's feelings are hurt over the backlash. And not to mention, he thinks he's a good person, so he holds himself to a chain with his comedy. So, Jimmy Kimmel's not banned from doing comedy. I mean, we, people on the right, we have a life. We don't want to go and cancel people. We have to go to work every day. Unlike Democrats, they spend their day unemployed and going to worthless protests. So it is what it is. And Jimmy Kimmel, he can go and start his own podcast and vent about Trump. And I mean, I would have more respect for him over that, because he's actually being masked off and actually being his true self, an activist, a Democratic Party influencer. He is a Democratic Party influencer, but he's in a disguise of comedian, which makes him, like he says, I'm non-biased, I'm just a normal comedian. No, you're not. That's the offense part. But if you say, oh, hey, look, I'm a Democrat Party influencer and an activist, okay, sure, yeah, you can start your own podcast and all that. You could try to be the Joe Rogan of the left. And hey, Jimmy, you could run for president as a Democratic nominee. Hey, look, Jimmy, you have a good future ahead of you. Comedy was never your thing, Jimmy. You weren't even funny. You were just an angry, hateful person in comedy. And just that, your show reflected a negative version of yourself. And I don't think it's going to get better with the podcast, just saying. But I'm just saying, if this guy was really canceled, then this guy would be unemployed. This guy wouldn't have a life. But, he has a big life ahead of him. And he has a audience of deranged old lunatics that will follow him into a podcasting career, which, like Michelle Obama's podcast, will fall apart pretty badly. But it's not like you were getting any money from this failed show that you were running right now. But anyway, what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.